Welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Around the world in the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today. Got some things we're going to get into today, including Coach Frank Martin basically saying he had a prayer meeting with his team. Kind of a interesting way that he put it as they looks to bounce back tonight against Arkansas. The Clemson basketball team was up by 23 on Saturday and lost at home to a very mediocre Boston College team. We may talk about that in a little bit, but the big thing today is the transfer portal. Someone online, and I don't remember who it was, I wish I could give you full credit, but they said, you know what, you could probably take teams from, you could probably build a team from the transfer portal and make a realistic run at being competitive, maybe winning a conference or a national title. So I thought I would go through, and that's what I did today. I did some research, figured out which guys I wanted, and I thought I'd give you my all transfer portal team. Now, bear in mind, these are players that are still looking for a place to go. Okay? So they're still looking for a place to go. And there is, it's actually a really good team on the offensive side of the ball. The defense looks good too. But as of right now, the weak spot, you would have to say, there aren't a lot of good offensive linemen as far as guys that rated out high on the 247 Sports rankings. But listen to this team and tell me if you don't think this would be a viable team heading into next season. Let's start with quarterback. It's really easy. Caleb Williams from Oklahoma. Of course, he started as a true freshman for Lincoln Riley. Threw for 1,900 yards and 21 touchdowns. That is solid. Now, you pair him with running back Travis Dye from Oregon, who rushed for 1,271 yards and 16 touchdowns on 211 carries, averaged about 6 yards a carry, also caught 46 balls for 402 yards and 2 more touchdowns. So you've got basically the West Coast version of Travis Etienne is what you would have at running back. Your tight end is Southern Cal's Michael Trigg. Big guy, can block, also can catch the ball. Played really well for Southern Cal while he was there. Wide receivers, here we go with this one. You start with Taj Harris from Syracuse. Now, we interviewed Taj Harris at ACC Kickoff last summer, and this guy was on pace to be Syracuse all-time leading receiver. One of the more productive wideouts during his stint with the Orange in the ACC. 151 catches, 2,028 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Just a solid route-running guy that will give someone for Williams to throw to. But, hey, it gets better after that. Brendan Rice from Colorado. Notice I said the last name Rice. Oh, it's just Jerry Rice's son. Yeah, you could have Jerry Rice's son. Led the Buffaloes, 822 all-purpose yards, 299 yards receiving, 54 yards rushing, and was named honorable mention for Pac-12 Offensive Freshman Player of the Year. So you could have Jerry Rice's son as your one of your wide receivers. Also, Javon Baker from Alabama, a 4-star recruit out of Powder Springs, Georgia, from the 2020 class. He was rated as high as the number 34 receiver in the country. Now, that is your skill positions. That, my friends, is pretty solid. Your offensive line, you got Ray Curry, a 4-star prospect from Arkansas, and Micah Maritararji from UVA, both considered 4-star prospects out of high school. Both played really well as far as your tackles. Your guards are actually pretty good. Liam Douglas from Southern Cal was a guy that put up some pretty good numbers with Southern Cal, but is moving on. And Des Holmes from Penn State. Those are your 2 guards. And then Bo Taylor from UCLA is your center. On the defensive side of the ball, there were so many guys that you could look at. It was kind of hard to narrow it down, but here's what I came up with. Nesta Jade Silvera from Miami, Henry Garrison from ECU, Dre Butler from Auburn, and Trajan Lewis from Texas Tech. All are highly thought of and guys that can really do a lot of things for you. These are guys that are still in the portal now. I know there's still, if you go and you look, you just look at the talent that's already moved around and is starting to make their way home. What a mess, man. As far as just a lot of folks out there. My linebackers, I've got Will Letou from Washington, Alonzo Pearson from Kansas, who is a young man that had a really, really good season, even though Kansas is not very good, and Jackson Hanna from Nebraska. Also, Enoch Makonzo, a linebacker from Coastal Carolina, was rated as the 78th best prospect in the 247 Sports transfer portal rankings. This guy put up huge numbers for the Chants, and he's just looking to go somewhere else. So, yeah, the Chants are definitely going to miss him this year, but definitely a big-time player there. Defensive backs, man, you could go across and find all kinds of talent still there. Latrell McCutcheon from Oklahoma. Mackenzie Barnes from Arizona was a guy that was looked at as could be one of the better defensive backs in the Pac-12. Mekhi Blackman from Colorado. And then Cedric Dort from Kentucky is a former all-SEC honorable mention. So I think he was dealing with some injuries, but that's a pretty good set to go with there. I've also got just a guy that I thought did a lot for Mizzou, and that's Sean Robinson. He came in thinking he was going to be the quarterback. It didn't really pan out for him, and he told them, look, I just want to play. He gets out on the field, and he turns out to be a pretty good safety. Now, he's very raw, but I think he is a heck of an athlete, and he made some big plays for Mizzou. Made some big plays for Mizzou. And he wants to be on the field. So there's that. And then I've got a kicker, Adam Stack from Hawaii. Now, this guy started at Oregon, transferred to Hawaii, still has 1 year of eligibility left, but he left because the whole coaching situation at Hawaii where, like, their coach was berating everyone. I mean, follow that story. Coach was berating everyone, and they had to close Aloha Stadium. What a mess the Hawaii job is. But he can boot the ball from, according to the report, from 55 out, and is pretty accurate. So there you go. There is my all transfer portal team. Now, I'll bring that up to you because when we look at the transfer portal now, we're not that far off from spring football. I know it seems like we just wrapped up the season, but come March, we'll be talking spring football. And with that, you look at the talent that is still there and wonder where these guys are going to end up. Wonder where you're going to end up. We'll have to see. If you want to respond to that, 803-978-1832. My favorite pick there was Brendan Rice from Colorado. Yeah, you give Jerry Rice's son on your team. He's out there. He's looking for a place to play. Side note, if you're one of the fans that, this is hilarious to me. I think I've mentioned this before. If a young man on Twitter says, hey, I'm moving on from a program, and you automatically retweet it with your coach and tag your coach in it. Like, let's use Shane Beamer for an example. Brendan Rice from Colorado tweets out, oh, let's tag Shane Beamer in it so that he'll know that Brendan Rice is available. Not like Shane Beamer's just sitting around thinking, hey, we're going to let the fan base recruit for us. Don't do that. Silly stuff there. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Jimmy wants to talk about an instrument that was thrown on the field in Buffalo. Find the video on that. That's pretty funny. Absolutely some funny stuff there. Also, yesterday was the deadline for folks to enter the NFL draft. There were a lot of teams that ended up with some guys that decided to stay. Couple of those that were interesting to me If we look in the SEC, KJ Jefferson at Arkansas completed 67% of his passes. Arkansas is on the fringe side of being a top 10 team, according to several different spots. So there's that. Georgia with a couple of them, of course, Tyke Smith and Nolan Smith. Those guys are going to make plays for Georgia next year. And Chris Rodriguez, who seems like he's been at Kentucky forever. Forever. Yeah, he's going to come back. Number 8 in rushing among Power 5 backs, 1,379 yards, over 6 yards a carry. So Kentucky next season, we don't ever really doubt Kentucky having a pretty good defense because that's the trademark of Coach Stoops. But now they've got their quarterback coming back. And in addition to that, they've got a guy that is considered one of the best running backs in the country. So there you go with that. I like that. I like Rodriguez coming back. Also, Xavier Thomas comes back for Clemson. That's a big deal. He's had kind of a disappointing career, if you really stop and think about it. It's not like he was as dominant as everybody thought he was going to be. Remember the folks that were talking about during his recruiting process? And literally some of the stuff you would see online is he is a world-changing prospect. I mean, his 247 sports ranking was like a 5-star player. And if I remember correctly, and I'm pulling it up right now, he was thought of so much that he was going to be in just a legitimate NFL from the go guy. His rating was 0.9988, which is, a 5-star. Nationally, he was number 3, number 1 defensive end. Just an amazing player. And then, he kind of led some folks along, but ends up at Clemson and didn't really have the career there, but maybe he's trying to get his 1 year in to get some more NFL tape. We'll see how that works out. Justin with an interesting comment online. Bob Stoops to Alabama when Nick Saban leaves. So, look, we can talk about Nick Saban too. And how long is he going to coach? But Bob Stoops is how old? Bob Stoops is what? He's 61 years old. If you're Alabama, do you want another guy that's that far up there? And, Bob Stoops can go coach wherever he wants, I believe. But in the end, is that who you want? And not like Nick Saban's going to retire. He may coach 10 more years. Same thing goes with Bill Belichick. They were talking about Bill Belichick on the sidelines and how much time he had left. And someone said he may coach 10 more years. He's 71. Nick Saban is what, 72, right? He's 70, not 72, but he's in his 70s. He looks like he works out every day. Looks like he's good to go. I don't know how much longer he's going to be there, to be honest. I do wonder, though, if Alabama won the national title this year with that team, with a lot of the injuries that they dealt with, and please don't think I'm trying to take something away from Georgia. Georgia beat the snot out of them. But they did deal with injuries. They had a lot of freshmen, lots of things that they had to deal with over the season. Maybe you were wondering, maybe he's like, you know what? Does it get much better than this? We beat that generational type defense from Georgia. Maybe he would have done it. Justin says he hopes he coaches for another 10 years, and he might. He's still at a high level. Really is. Brandon says Brian Brzee and Miles Murphy are much better than Xavier Thomas. Yes, they've had better careers. I mean, Brian Brzee he's still developing. But, yeah, they've definitely have had better overall careers. I mean, Brzee's a defensive tackle, though, not a defensive end. So, there's that. 803-978-1832. If you want to join the program today, we can talk about my all-transfer team. Did I miss somebody? I don't know. SEC Dog and I actually agree on something today. If you follow us, we spar at each other on in different all over the place. But he said something that makes sense here. Got to give him credit. He says the next Bama coach for a half year or so, whoever takes over after Saban, 99% chance they'll get fired. Yeah, the idea of filling those shoes for Nick Saban, do you really want that? Now, I do think there's a set of folks that are competitive, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do it because I can. I can keep up that Saban standard. I think there are people that want to do that. You're going to get paid a lot. I mean, that'll come with it. But can you keep up with what Saban does? You're not going to be able to walk into the same living room that Saban does and get players too. Not for the first year anyway, I don't think. I guess it depends on who the coach is. If it's Bob Stoops may be able to do that. He's like, look, I was at Oklahoma. Now I'm here at Alabama. We're going to do some of the same thing there. We're just, stability. That's what you get with that. And he's not going to go into, whoever it is not going to go in where, I don't think that Saban's going to do what Spurrier did at South Carolina, where he kind of forgot to recruit for a couple of seasons. I don't think that's going to happen. The cupboard will still be stocked, in my opinion. It may not be with the generational type quarterback, etc. Who knows? But with the transfer portal now, that could empty it out too. But I don't think that it'll be like, okay, we're short this guy, we're short that guy. Brandon says Beamer hired a new linebacker coach, Sterling Lucas from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, we'll have to see how Coach Lucas does. I do agree with SEC Dog, though. Those are some big shoes to fill. We'll take calls on that, too. Who do you think should replace Nick Saban at Alabama if he decides to leave? Joey says Beamer picked up a quarterback Saturday. That's 4 quarterbacks this cycle. Yeah, I've got to look at the actual recruiting stuff there. But here's the thing. I think Shane Beamer, and I don't want to mock the team that was out there because they played hard. But I think he looked at that team and said, you know what? We're going to put it together with spit glue and WD-40 and some duct tape, and we're going to go to a bowl game. And then I'm going to recruit. And that's what he's done. He took a team that was set to win, or said to have been favored to win 3 games this season, and they won 7 games. And they beat a team in North Carolina. Let's not take away from the fact, at the beginning of the season, North Carolina was a fringe top 10 team. They were thought to be the team that was going to challenge Clemson in the ACC championship game, and neither one of them ended up there. But Shane Beamer took what he had and put together a good team and won the Steve Spurrier First Coach of the Year award, basically. I think that's the name of it. Your first year as a head coach. He shared that with Josh Heupel. They both put together some a good season. All right, so we'll talk about that and the transfer portal and anything else you want to come up with. This is The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Mike Price, that's funny, Jimmy. Look, you got to respect what Beamer did. I mean, regardless of who you pull for, he took what Will Muschamp left, which was not much. I mean, really not much. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think you got to give Muschamp credit for that. But on the offensive side of the ball, they just weren't very good. They really weren't. So got to give Beamer credit for that. Now, you got all these guys in there. The question is, can you control the egos and everything else? That's part of coaching too. Can you convince X, Y, and Z player, hey, you guys have got to get along? Spencer Rattler coming in, that's a big deal. It really is. But Spencer Rattler's had some issues before he got to South Carolina. Not necessarily bad stuff, but just, hey, I'm the big guy here. I'm confident. Will that go over well with the guys that are there? Lee says the problem with the ACC is there's no team that can consistently challenge Clemson. You, sir, are correct. It's Clemson, and then a lot of other, I use the term fours, like we're dating. Now you go out and you'll have like you have that 110 that's there, and then you'll have a bunch of sevens and then fours. The ACC has been Clemson at 10, some sevens, and then a bunch of fours, and then Duke's a 0. It's basically what you got there. I do remember that, Brandon. That was a mess. Eight zero three 978-1832, 803-978-1832. Brandon with a great comment online. The Gamecock fans wanted Xavier Thomas really bad. There were people that were saying that he was the next Jadeveon Clowney. Now, when you hear that, Clowney was, we use the term generational defense for Georgia. Clowney was a generational talent for South Carolina. I think people forgot how great he was. He was absurdly great. His freshman year, he made a play against the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens, and it was like, 4 games in? I can't remember. But I remember him basically, he was in the wrong position, okay? He wasn't where he was supposed to be defending a gap or whatever. But he ended up he over pursued the quarterback, and they ran the draw play right by him. He turned around, changed direction, and went back and ran this guy down. And I looked and I was like, whoa, he's a freshman, and he's out there in Athens, which is a tough place to play, and he did not give a care at all. Yeah, you beat me with that draw play, but I'm going to run you back down and hold you down. Yeah. You could just tell he was just great. And of course, Blake brings up the hit on the Michigan running back was heard around the world. It sounded like, I read something where they I think it was SI that did like a whole section on Clowney and that hit. And some of the Michigan coaches said it sounded on field level like a shotgun blast went off when he hit him. And they were worried that the Michigan running back was knocked out. So, yeah. So that was obviously one of the bigger plays for Clowney. But Clowney also had this whole thing of every time he's in there, he's getting double and triple team too. So there's that. They weren't going to let him get to the quarterback at all. They were going to run 2 and 3 guys at him. He got cut block, all kind of stuff during his career at South Carolina. He deserved to be the number 1 overall pick. Just outstanding player. But to think that Xavier Thomas was on that same level, when I read that from a lot of different people, I just kind of laughed. There's only one Clowney. There really is. And I think that's something that we do now that we kind of got to stop. We compare this guy to someone from the past. You could say, okay, he plays like this. Maybe he throws the ball like, I don't know, X, Y, or Z. But to be honest, when you step back and look at it, to say, oh, this guy's going to be the next Clowney, just stop. It's not really fair to the kid either. 803-978-1832. Blake says it shook his TV. Good point, sir. Good point. Anyway, we'll take your calls on that and the transfer portal, 803-978-1832. The guys leaving for the NFL. Something else that I thought about too last night. We tried to look at the NIL as, okay, this is bad. And maybe it's something that is hurting college football. I don't want to have that debate, But we could talk about what's good for the NIL and how it can affect your team. Think of it from this perspective. Bryce Young, I think I mentioned this stat the other day, is making $1.1 million as the quarterback for Alabama. Now, hold on. I know folks are like, man, Rob, that's insane. Jalen Hurts plays in the NFL and made $800,000 with the Philadelphia Eagles as their starting quarterback. So maybe the NIL could help out on a front where it's like, you know what? If I'm a junior, I'm going to have an opportunity to come back here and I could possibly make more money if I stay here as compared to going to the NFL and I'm in that rookie structured contract for, you already know what you're going to make. I mean, you really do. The owners tell you this is what we're going to pay you and shut the hell up. That's basically what it boils down to. Your NIL stuff is pretty much to the moon, though. Now, I know that you can get endorsements in the NFL and things like that, but you've already built up all this goodwill with the base at the school that you're at. You're not a new guy in town of, hey, I'm going to the Cleveland Browns and I'm trying to resurrect the franchise. Let me do some Subway commercials. That's not the way that it's going to be. You got to earn some respect there first, but you've already built up all of that at your college. So maybe that's one of the areas that the NIL could be something that's beneficial. Rob Online says NIL is good in his opinion, but there are no regulations, and that isn't good and can turn a good thing into a bad thing. Yeah, I think it should be regulated. But I do think it's, and I've said this before, you know, back when Chris Webber was part of the Fab Five at Michigan. Now, granted, he was taking money. We kind of know that. But if you went into the bookstore at the University of Michigan, you could buy a Chris Webber jersey with his name on it. And he didn't get a dime of that. An absolute nothing out of that. That's kind of like, okay. They were selling Clowney jerseys in the Russell House bookstore, if I remember correctly, until not too long ago. So there's, okay, 6 1/2 dozen of another. I know folks that they look away from the fact that going to college and having all of your college paid for, I don't think people realize, especially now, how expensive that is. I mean, it really, really is. So to have all of that waived and your room and board and everything else, that's pretty impressive in its own right. With the tutoring and everything else that you get, I mean, what are we looking at? Let's say 40 grand a semester. Is that far-fetched? Probably not. They do get a stipend too. So I think people overlook that a little bit, but we'll see. Some of the comments online, Dabo Swinney is still going after Manning. Of course, Arch Manning. He's got Clemson down to his top 5. It's Clemson, Georgia. I can't remember the rest of the teams that are there. What I can tell you is that bringing in that kind of quarterback, it's going to bring you some hype. And when you look at it, you have to look at it from this perspective. If he comes in his freshman year, and let's say that he struggles a little bit, not a lot, just your typical freshman type stuff. This guy struggles just a little bit, and Cade Klunick sets it off. He may end up in the transfer portal. It's just weird how that goes. Now, you could end up being, we can use Georgia as an example for this, where, you know, they won with a quarterback that is not high up there on the NFL expectations, but the idea of just rotating quarterbacks in every other year, maybe that's the way to go now. The idea of having a 4-year starting quarterback is kind of a thing of the past. Maybe the way to do it now is have as many quarterbacks as you can on your roster. Some of them are going to go, and you just got to deal with it. So that's something to think about there. maybe that's kind of the way that the transfer portal and everything else is going to go. Rob says having your college paid for and getting a real degree is a life changer. Getting a degree in Russian modern art studies won't get you anything, though might as well go to a trade school. That's true too. Remember when they used to tell people their majors online? They don't really do that anymore. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. This is The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I don't know where he's going to go. Blake is Ole Miss in the Final Five? I think he announced the Final Five, and Clemson was one of them. I remember Clemson, Georgia. I think Ole Miss was there too. I can't remember the other two. I should be a better host and know that, but I was too busy putting together my all transfer portal team. I think my all transfer portal team, if I had those guys together, I think they could compete. It wouldn't surprise me with Ole Miss. Really wouldn't. That's a bold statement there, Rob. You wonder how long Lane Kiffin is going to stay at Ole Miss, too. He may stay there forever. Who knows? And Archie played, I mean, not but Eli played there, too. Oh, I've got the other set here. Dabo got a quarterback from the transfer portal. He got Hunter Johnson, who played for him before and transferred out. Colby, how are you, friend? Hey, just a quick check with you guys over there. Are you guys into college baseball at all? Because I love college baseball. I'm gonna talk some college baseball here. I'm gonna talk football every day, but definitely doing some college baseball. Love some college baseball. Absolutely love it. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. SEC Dog says, would Sweeney consider getting a quarterback from the portal? And I told him he got one. Got Hunter Johnson yesterday. Yeah. And then he goes, no, a real QB. Hunter Johnson was a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. And Dabo Sweeney actually said he's going to be in the NFL. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know about all that. I don't think Sweeney's going to go and get guys that I think loyalty means something to Sweeney. I really do. I think he's got that old school mentality, and it may work for him, it may not. When you look at Alabama, they made the national championship game this year with a linebacker from Tennessee. So Georgia won the national title with one of Dabo's guys that was in his doghouse in Darion Kendrick. So we've talked about that. Sweeney's got to get with it, man. Because if not, it's going to pass him by. You wonder, I don't want to throw this on him, but one of the reasons that Les Miles kind of left LSU is because he didn't adapt. Still thought of as a great coach, still recruited well, but was running an offense from the 1980s. It's kind of was his, and he was a scumbag too. We found that out when he went to Kansas. But you're going to have to adapt or die. That's kind of the way it is. Some of the other comments here. What was it? There was one that was stuck out there. I wanted to make sure I mentioned it. Oh, we'll go to the phones first. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. And welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. It's the guy to run your ratings up. Bring your ratings up.
Oh, you think hold on now, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm the one.
You think you're the one that brings the ratings up? Okay.
Yeah, watch your phone lines light up.
That doesn't have anything to do with the ratings, but you do. I will give you this. You do inspire people to get on the phone and call, because I don't think that half the stuff you say you actually believe. There's no way.
Listen.
Okay.
Wasn't Hunter Johnson, was he at Clemson before?
Yes, sir, he was.
Okay, come back home.
Yeah, he apparently wanted to be a graduate assistant, and Coach Sweeney said, hey, you've got a year of eligibility left. Come play quarterback.
There's a good chance he's going to start.
We'll see. I mean, I think that there's stuff coming out about Uiagalelei. Maybe he wasn't completely healthy this year. And, of course, you've got Klubnik and of course, Helms from West Columbia. I mean, I think he's more of an insurance policy, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
Well, he didn't play very well at Northwestern. Numbers weren't exactly outstanding, but I mean,
I ain't going to hold you up because I know your rating's going to go up now.
Oh, well, thank you for that, sir. I appreciate you calling the program. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Hollywood calling to talk about Hunter Johnson. Of course, we'll take calls on that too. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. You know, you mentioned transfers helping teams. Edwin's correct about that. The Joe Burrow, of course, was at Ohio State. Urban Meyer was there. And I know he got injured, but Joe Burrow's looking around, and obviously he's one of those generational type players. And he decides, hey, it's very seldom that you see a guy transfer from Ohio State or let's just say a Big Ten school. And yeah, I'm going to go play in the SEC West and then go in and dominate. The year that Burrow had before the championship year, he was an outstanding player then too. So the transfer portal can work, and it can also hinder you a little bit. You bring guys in, they could be a cancer in the locker room. Man, it really is rolling the dice. It really, really is. Lee says Northwestern's offensive line looked worse than South Carolina and Hunter's and Helinski's defense. Okay. Yeah. That's true too. Northwestern, though, they're almost like the Stanford of the Big Ten, in my opinion. They're going to win games with their defense, and they're going to be well coached. It's not like their offense is going to go out and light people up anyway. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. DJ says Will Taylor's going to be fun to watch this year, and nobody's mentioned him since he was hurt. Yeah, I think he's going to play wide receiver. But you know what? Maybe putting him in there as, kind of a running option at quarterback, give a little change of pace look. Yeah, that might be good too. Clemson's season, by the way, next year, and I'm calling it right now, to January, the 18th? Clemson's season next year will depend on the offensive line. Can their new offensive line coach light a fire under the guys that are there? Jordan McFadden's a good player. He's going to play on Sundays. But the rest of the guys there, can he light a fire under them and get them to protect whoever it is that's taking signals back there? And can Brandon Streeter be the guy that is creative enough that if the offensive line isn't quite this monstrous offensive line, can he be creative enough to keep defenses honest and to kind of I don't necessarily agree with shine away from it, but kind of put some deodorant on how the offensive line could be foul at some points. That's going to be Clemson's year next year. Defense is going to be fine. Coach Goodwin will have those guys rocking and rolling. They'll figure out the stuff in the secondary. They'll have their schedule next season. We might as well call it this too. Their schedule next season is hot dog water. I mean, you talk about if this is a season in transition, and I know that folks, it's kind of hard to look at a schedule and see how it's going to be. But as of right now, when you look at the Clemson football schedule for 2022, you've got Georgia Tech. That's like at a neutral site. Louisiana Tech, Furman. You got to go to Notre Dame. You got South Carolina coming in, going to Boston College, Louisville at home, Miami at home, NC State at home, Syracuse at home, and at Florida State and at Wake Forest. I mean, that doesn't really look like it's the most challenging schedule. Now, Wake Forest could be good. NC State's probably going to be a top 15 team. I guess going to Notre Dame's hard, but it's not like it's just a crazy, crazy schedule, especially to start the year. You've got 3 games that they should be 25-point favorites in. Well, maybe 17 against Georgia Tech. Either way, they'll have enough time to figure out what they're going to do with the defensive backs. They can lean on that defensive line with Brzee and those guys, and then figure out what they're going to do with the offensive line. Coach Caldwell leaving. Thomas Austin, I believe, is a new offensive line coach. See if he can motivate those guys and get them up to go. But that's going to be Clemson next season. Can they protect the quarterback? And can they deal with all the losses they had in the secondary? Yes, the wide receiving core, they got to figure some of that out too. They do have some guys in the running back room, though. And I think on the offensive side, they'll be okay as long as they can protect whoever's taking snaps. Rob says they're losing to Florida State and Notre Dame. Okay. I don't know about Florida State. They're one of those teams that they could go 10-2 or they could go 6-6. No one knows. No one knows. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you want to join us here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Did Latson just announce that? Oh, man. Latson got hurt a lot, though. He was always in the damn training room. The thing that Clemson's also missing on the offensive side of the ball is a true slot receiver. That offense hasn't really been the same since Amari Rodgers left. They tried to plug guys in to be a slot receiver. Now, you need your guy where it's 3rd and 2. He can run a simple slant and catch a ball. Clemson hasn't had that. They were spoiled with Hunter Renfrow and all those, and a slew of other guys. Ray McLeod played a little bit of that. Oh, that's a good question there, Blake. We might do that after we come back here. If they host game day, okay. Latson's always hurt, and I don't mean to razz a kid, but my goodness. Yeah, ETN did a lot of that too, but when they had ETN and Amari Rodgers, man, that was just lethal with quickness there. The Dork Aquarium, there's I've showed you guys this before. There's like a window here. And my buddy Andrew Woods just came into the studio.
Show them the window. Point the camera.
The cameras, I'm not moving the camera. I'll show them during the break there. Say hello to Andrew Woods. Yeah, no, we're talking to the folks here in my chat. Andy does WCOS. He is the absolute best disc jockey on the planet. Say hello to Andy Woods.
And I've got $10 for you for saying that.
$10. There you go. Andy knows more about music than I'll ever forget. Seriously.
That makes no sense.
I know it doesn't. Anyway. We got some characters up here at the station, man. On an alternate network channel. Make it 20. Yeah, he should buy my beer tonight. That's what he should do. Y'all will be cranky here in the next starting next week. I'm training for another powerlifting competition. So I gotta cut like 5 pounds. It's like, ugh. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. SEC Dog may be picking at me. Was it SEC Dog or Blake that was talking about if Clemson were going to host game day this year, what team would they would coming to Death Valley would you think that would be worthy of hosting game day? When I look at the schedule, I would say Miami or NC State. Those games, I don't know when they're going to be, but yeah, Miami or NC State, one of those two. There's folks that are talking about Miami is going to be a top 12 team. They think Mario Cristobal is going to have just this, he's going to wave a wand and then go from there. I'd venture more to say Dave Doran, who was an idiot with the Holiday Bowl, accepting the trophy like, yay, we're a 10-win team. You didn't play. You're a 9-win team, sir. They haven't announced yet when those games will be. We don't know yet. But I would probably go with Dave Doran. I think he's got his quarterback back. They have to play at Clemson. They did beat Clemson last year at NC State. So Clemson may be the game on the schedule where it's like, look, these guys made us look silly last year. We're not going to have that anymore. Not going to have that. Brian Brzee should be on fire for that game. That's the game he got injured and tore up his knee. That might be the game if I had to really stop and think about it. The Notre Dame Clemson game, they might be there for that, but that's on the road. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Brandon wants to know, when did Cristobal become this great top 5 coach? He did good stuff at Oregon, I guess. Oregon was really good under him. I mean, this past season, they went into Ohio State and beat them there at Ohio State when nobody gave them a snowball's chance to do it, and they did. So, yeah, there's that, I guess. There's sometimes a lot of these guys that they get built up. Let's use the NFL for an example. Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. He's got, like, someone posted this earlier and it made a lot of sense. I'll give them credit tomorrow because I've got it pinned somewhere, but everybody and their brother's looking at Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, like he is the second coming. This guy's never won a playoff game. Ever. Not one playoff game. But yeah, he's the best ever. But Eric Bieniemy at Kansas City has won a Super Bowl and can't get a job. It's amazing how some coaches are looked at. Let's go out to the phones. Welcome into the Rundown. Oh, what is that? Welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon. It's your dime. Spill it. All right. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Yeah, when I see stuff like that, it's like Kellen Moore is great. Now, look at the stuff that Kellen Moore has had, too, with that offense. I give Dak Prescott grief for the dumb thing he said yesterday where he was cool with the people throwing things at the refs. Let's take that out of the equation for a minute. Dak Prescott's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. He's got Amari Cooper. He's got Ezekiel Williams, who let him down this past weekend and maybe on the trailing end of his career. They've got a really good offensive line, and they've got CeeDee Lamb, the other wide receiver too. So he's had plenty of things that he can implement with. So you got to look at it from different perspectives. Eric Bieniemy, of course, he's got Patrick Mahomes and the creativity that they have up at Kansas City. Now, you can make an argument that their head coach, Andy Reid, has a lot to do with it. But I just wonder how one guy looks so much better than another. If I am the Carolina Panthers right now and I could get Eric Bieniemy to be my coach, just from his past record of what he's done, I think I would go with that guy. The Rule era has been pretty crummy for the Carolina Panthers. Now, we use that in the pros, but in college, it's the same way. If you coach at a Power 5 level, they just keep recycling you. If you go somewhere, and let's say that you get a Power 5 job in the ACC, the SEC, whatever, you go there and you suck. You're terrible. They'll give you a job as a coordinator at another Power 5 school. You go there, you have 2 good seasons. Oh, well, you have another opportunity to be a head coach. It's just kind of the way that it is. The whole coaching thing, I just don't get. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. Blake says not Chad Morris. Chad Morris, I think he's coaching in high school now. I think some guys just have it and some don't. Chad Morris, when he was at Clemson, man, that Clemson offense was moving. He leaves, though, and Clemson gets to that elite level as far as the offense goes. So think about that, too. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Rob's upset with what I said about Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's ancient. Aaron Rodgers, Stafford, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrows, Derek Carr. That's an easy 10 better than Dak. I'm talking about the numbers that he put up this season. If you don't like Dak Prescott, hey, that's on you. I'm just saying the guy puts up pretty good numbers. We can argue about what you like and what you don't like. Looking up his numbers here before we get out of here. Let's look at the because I've got the stats here. I remember pulling these up earlier. Let me see if I've got them right here in my stack of stuff. All right, here we go. For pass yards, Dak Prescott is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he's 7th in passing yards, behind Brady, Herbert, Stafford, Mahomes, Carr, and Burrow. I'd take Josh Allen over him. Yep. I would take Josh Allen over him. That guy's a beast. Absolute beast. You know, Tom Brady's numbers are kind of inflated. All of his stuff is basically yards after the catch. And SEC Dog is correct. All them numbers and 0 playoff wins. The Dallas Cowboys are basically they're almost like the Chicago Cubs before the Cubs won a World Series. Now it's just like, I don't know. There's a lot of hatred towards the Cowboys, but it's like, can you not win? What is wrong with you? Blake likes Mayfield. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Don't forget, I know some folks watched the show last week. Levon Kirkland joins us on Friday. He's going to come in throughout the NFL playoffs and the NFL draft. And look forward to having him in here on Fridays. You talk about somebody that was an all-decade player in the NFL, coached in college, coached with Bruce Arians. I mean, went one-on-one with Jerome Bettis in practice just one time. We got to get with him on that. I bet that was an interesting thing because Levon back in his day was an absolute beast, and Jerome Bettis was, of course, it's like 2 freight trains running into each other. Yeah, having that on Friday. So be sure to check us out for that. I know a lot of folks are, they'll tell me, yeah, Rob, I don't really like the NFL. That's fine. If you don't like the NFL, that's great. We're going to talk about old school stuff on Friday. It's like a retro Friday with Levon Kirkland. So tune in for that. You can actually call and talk to a guy who's went to the Pro Bowl, was an AP All-Pro several times. Yeah, you could, God's in the Clemson Ring of Honor. Talk with him on Friday. So yeah, we're looking definitely forward to that. All right, do not forget my buddy Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next. He is the czar of Clemson sports. Be sure to follow him on Twitter at Clemson Sports.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
And his show's on from 4 to 6 every day. He gets all kinds of big guests on his show. Everyone loves the Swan. Be sure to check him out. Teddy Hefner on in the mornings from 9 to noon. My name is Rob Sanders. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Podcast is up at 5 o'clock. Vlog page is up. FoxSportsRadio1400.com. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Joey. Jimmy's right. Rich Rodriguez was a super OC and a suck head coach. You're right about that, sir. Absolutely right. All right. Hey, thank you guys for showing up, man. Appreciate you guys. I know the college season is over, but we'll have plenty of football talk. We're going to talk recruiting and spring games and stuff like that, all of that. I do hate lettuce. How did you know that? I know how you know that. I got your wife to make me a sandwich, Jay. And I told her no lettuce. That's how you know. See you guys tomorrow.